Okay, my friends, raise your hand as an entrepreneur if you're guilty as charged when I make the following statement. As a business owner, have you become so enthralled with the passionate side of your business that you forget about its operational consequences and what it takes to operate the day-to-day operations of your business effectively? Well, if you answered yes, today, my friends, is your lucky day, because I'm here to help. But before I do that, I want to drop some knowledge on you. According to the Forbes Business Advisor, 8 out of 10 American businesses have no internal or external employees. The publication reports out of approximately 33.2 million small businesses and corporations, 27.1 million of them are operated and owned by a solo entrepreneur, which in turn makes it doubly important to really understand the operational forecast of your business, which is why I was so excited to sit down and have a extensive conversation with my friend Scott Goodrich. Goodrich serves as the implementer and facilitator of the Entrepreneurial Operating System, where he helps entrepreneurs and leadership teams get what they want out of their business. The EOS is a complete operating system with a set of simple and practical tools, which will assist with the vision, the traction, and the healthy of any company, business, or organization. It's helped thousands of entrepreneurs and business owners get a grip on their business, break through their ceiling, and deliver better results and more fulfilling lives for the people who run them. And Goodrich joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to talk to you all about how you make the world of business and entrepreneurship a more inclusive place. Great to see you today, and happy Friday to you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Greatly appreciate it. Yes, it's nice to make it our way to Friday. It's another successful week, and to wrap it up with a conversation with you is fantastic. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, isn't it?
Always. It starts a little earlier at Pacific time. We seem to get away with starting our weekends a little bit earlier because of all the business happens on the Eastern time zone. We can start a little earlier here out west.
Well, business in the front and party in the back, right, Scott?
We wouldn't know anything about that. We're a couple of guys like to keep our hair nice and short, so we wouldn't know anything about that.
That's exactly right. But Scott, I know that you help entrepreneurs and a leadership team sort of get what they want out of their business. So I'm wondering if you can tell me what makes you so fabulous and why you're so passionate about the work that you do.
Yeah, geez, I love the word fabulous. I'm not sure I'm there yet. We spend a lot of time on our journey here with EOS learning and trying to get a little better each and every time we have an interaction with a client or even with one of our peers. So it is a journey to being fabulous. But what that really means, Kevin, when we talk to business owners, is really just understanding why did they get into business in the first place and where are they looking to take the business they've created, and helping them really identify and understand that. And once they understand where they're going, what are the steps that they need to put into place? What are the things they needed to put into practice to make that a reality? So when we say helping entrepreneurs get what they want from their business, tell us what you want and let's figure out what the path is to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just building on that, Scott, I'm just to ask you about why do you think entrepreneurship can really be a ticket to life and financial freedom, and why so many people talk about how they can make financial inroads and new opportunities through the promise of entrepreneurship. I'm wondering your thoughts there as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't even know if I would say that it's the path to financial freedom for everybody because it's hard. It's hard taking your idea and creating a business and building something around it. And yes, there's tons of great success stories, U.S., Canada, across the globe, where folks have been able to take an idea, turn it into reality, and gain that financial freedom. For others, though, it becomes more of a passion play, or they've got a cause that they're trying to pursue, and that's where the freedom comes from. They're not getting what they want out of working for somebody else. So the freedom that just comes from owning their own business and being able to chase the thing that they're most passionate about, the service that they want to deliver, the product that they have in mind, that freedom just of not working for somebody, but working for themselves. That ends up being as much of anything as it is the financial side of things. I think if the financial side comes along, all the better, right? And we want to help our entrepreneurs that we work with get there so that they really achieve those things. But there's so much more to it and the reasons why people decide to open up their own business and go their own way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Scott, let's dive into the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or your EOS, because I know it's helped thousands of business owners get a grip on their business and break down their barriers through success. So tell me about the EOS specifically and what makes it so great, my friend.
For sure, and all the credit is due to the founder of the company and the author of the book Traction. Gino Wickman was a serial entrepreneur and was called in to run his family business, and in doing so, just learned a ton around what makes entrepreneurial companies go, what makes them tick, why are they successful, and as he did that for his own business and then started meeting with other entrepreneurs in the Detroit area, right across the bridge from where you are. As he started to meet with them, he realized that he had a real knack and passion for helping entrepreneurs build their businesses. And he kind of got it. So as he grew his business and then met with others, he started cobbling together some of these ideas and created EOS, which is just a set of simple, practical tools that have been around for a long time that will help entrepreneurs really get the structure they need to make their vision a reality. I would say that the thing that we find most often is that folks have a great idea, or they've got a strong passion around what they want to bring to the world, and they want to go out there and do it on their own. But when it comes time to executing on it, that's where the challenges come in, and that's where EOS comes in. This is a system about execution and about harnessing all the human energy that a founder and all the folks that he or she hires along the way and bringing that all together. So it's that harnessing of human energy, execution on the idea, and having all that come together in one system, one structure, and one set of plans that allows the business to really move forward and get that owner the grip he or she is looking for on their business.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, you and I both know that you could have the greatest business idea in the world, but if you don't have a plan of execution, then it's probably as good as the paper that it's written on, right? So tell me about how business owners or first-time business people can really sort of test the operational side of the business that they're trying to execute. What are some questions people need to ask from
Yeah, we try to keep it simple, but not easy, right? There's nothing easy about running your business. So I always make that clarification. The things that we talk about, we try to use simple language because as an entrepreneur, you're dealing with lots of stuff. Things are coming at you all day, every day, and you need to be able to be very flexible and fluid and moving around. So what we're trying to do is to build some consistency and some structure to allow the right focus and really the right prioritization happen within your business. So there's really three things that we talk about when we talk to a business owner. The first is around vision and making sure that you know where you're going as an organization and you know how you're going to get there, right? That's really critical. And to the extent that you can get others to share in that vision so that they know where you're going, then you've got everyone rowing in the same direction. So that's the first place. Where are you going with this thing? The second is traction. It's the title of the book that this is all based on. And traction is about executing with discipline and accountability, making sure that everyone knows what they're supposed to deliver on. If I've got sales, the buck stops with me to bring on clients, right? That's my job as the sales lead, and I've got that accountability for it and making sure that you've got some things in place to make sure you're executing with discipline and accountability. And the last thing, which is often the most overlooked thing, but really becomes the area where there's much of the pain resides, is in building a healthy team. Building a team that is cohesive, functions well together, and has strong ties that bind and is really operating in a healthy manner is so critical to building a small business. We typically find that the answer to a lot of the challenges and issues that companies face lie in people. Are they the right people for the organization, and are they the right in the right seat? Do they know the work that they're supposed to do? So vision, traction, healthy is what we come back to time and again. And when we work with leadership teams, that's where we spend our time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, as you know, entrepreneurship or any sort of business sector is all about people. I like to say that business is all about being sort of in the people business. So talk to me about the importance of building relationships and really cultivating relationships as a successful entrepreneur. How important do you think that is?
Well, it's critically important. And when you don't have those strong relationships in the leadership teams, to foster a very healthy dialogue and making sure that we have an open and honest discussion every time they get together to meet, whether it's with me, working with them and facilitating an EOS session, or if it's when they're having one of their weekly or quarterly meetings, that there's a dialogue that exists there where folks can say what's on their mind. And then you attack the most important problems without ego. You set that aside. You don't worry about politics. You don't worry about title. You actually just attack the things that matter the most for the business. And when you're in that space, and as a leadership team operating in that way, well, you can get anything done. And any problem that comes up is just an issue to be resolved and doesn't derail what you're trying to do as a company. So that healthiness is so critical for any entrepreneur to allow the business to grow and be successful for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, I don't know if you knew this, but July actually happens to be National Disability Pride Month. And as you know, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy at birth, and outside of hosting this podcast, buddy, I also work with organizations to help them build a more inclusive culture from an employment perspective. So tell me, when you think about National Disability Pride Month as it relates to both employment and business, tell me what sort of things come to mind when you think about infusing folks with disabilities into a business culture, and what sort of competitive advantage can they offer a business in your perspective?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is just the perspective that someone who's had to deal with the challenges on a personal level that they can bring to a business that is trying to deal with challenges on a professional level, right? That just to know what someone has to do day in, day out, what are some of the things that they've had to overcome. Well, that is just opening up a whole new set of possibilities for any business and as they look to tackle the challenges that they're faced with. So that's where I'd go first and foremost. The second thing I'd say is whenever when we're working with any organization they're looking to hire, we look at two things. And I think this is where it can really help as you think about how do you bring in that diversity into an organization, is the person you're considering the right type of person to bring into the team from a core values perspective? Do they reflect what it is that you care about? That doesn't, nothing matters more than that. It doesn't matter their background, a disability that they're faced with, or any other difference that may be out there, right? Are they the person that matches and is attracted to the core values that you represent? Well, that's critical and that's key. So that's one. And two, they have the skill set. And as long as they've got the skill set and the experience to bring forward, then I think that inclusivity and the perspective that's added just rounds that out. So when we talk with our business owners, just in understanding what do you care about from a core value side and what is the experience that you need to bring into that seat, that's the beginnings of building out the right team using those two lenses to look at potential folks in joining your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And from a broader sense, Scott, I'm also curious to get your perspective on when you think about the concept of business innovation and really innovating a business, what comes to mind for you?
You know, it's funny because the way that I think about that is different, and it takes me away from what I do on a day in, day out basis. Because when we work with a client, we make a lot of assumptions that the business they're in, the product that they're delivering, the service that they're offering is right for their market. So what EOS does not do, right, and this is where we get away from what we do, is to consult with a business on the direction they should take. That's just not our lane. Our lane is to say, okay, you're going to make widgets. Let's figure out the best way, the most profitable way, the most efficient way for you to deliver widgets and build the healthiest team that allows you to grow. And that's what we're going to do. So when you're thinking about innovation, one of the areas that I think it does relate to is in a business that I run with my wife. We actually own a haircut and color shop. And although it sounds silly for those watching this, that I'm a guy with no hair, I own a haircut shop. But the innovation that's in that space that we've just found is that we actually do not list the cuts that we offer by gender. We just offer unisex haircuts. So if you want to get a long cut, you pay one price. You want to get a shortcut, you pay another price. And as a person that hasn't spent a lot of time in haircut shops over the course of my life, it was new to me. I didn't realize that there was actually this differentiated pricing between men and women and cuts and what was happening at a barbershop and what's happening at a salon and all that. So we've taken that out of the mix. I think the innovation in that space has been super valuable because we are now a place that attracts folks that appreciate that approach and not creating those differences that really don't need to be there. Hair is hair, regardless of whose head it's sitting on. And so for me, I think that's one way to look at it, is just embracing the diversity that's out there and not getting wrapped up in what has been typically accepted as guys go here to get a haircut, ladies go there to get a haircut or style. We do it all in one.
Yeah, and to take your three principles of the EOS, which were vision, traction, and execution, tell me what does that mean to you to run a healthy business? What does that mean to you?
Well, there's a lot that goes into that. So EOS consists of 6 key components that we try to work with our business owners to really get strong, and we call it getting to 100% strong in each of these components. And vision, traction, healthy is part of all of those. But rather than go through all those components, I would just point to a couple things. A healthy organization is one that has a consistency in their approach. The interactions between people are open and honest and done in a way to make everyone better, right? You take all the politics and you throw them aside. You take the egos out of the mix, right? Really critical to allow the business to move forward. And a healthy organization confronts issues head on and doesn't put them in the corner to be dealt with later. You prioritize what's the most important thing and you get after it. And when you've got an organization that is willing to openly and honestly have conversations around tackling the biggest and most important issues on a weekly, quarterly, and annual basis, you got an organization that's going to be healthy and strong and is really going to be able to move the ball down the field.
Yeah, and taking into account the work that EOS does, Scott, I'm curious to ask you, how do you think companies can create a more welcoming culture? Because, coming out of COVID, I think one of the things that business people or business leaders have to work more hard on is sort of retaining the talent they already have in the building. So tell me about how do you think we can retain human capital in today's society coming out of COVID?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that come to mind, and this is not I want to be clear here that no expert in this field, so I'm just going off my own experiences and some conversations that I've had, and I'll try to sum it. I had a great conversation with someone on my own podcast a while back about this very topic, and first and foremost, you've got to spend the time to invest in your people. You've got to give them some coaching, some mentoring, and some leadership. You can't just hire them and then forget them. So that investment, in whatever way you do that, whether you're doing it yourself or you're bringing in outside folks to come in and provide them that direction and to run that mentoring and to listen to what's going on. And that's not only what's going on between the four walls of work or over the Zoom cam. It's about what's going on in their personal life. That's so critical to making sure that you've got a healthy team, is giving folks a chance to breathe and be human and understand what's going on there personally, particularly in a post-COVID environment. You can't just ignore that stuff. There is no work-life separation, right? They all blend together. And with so many people working from home, how can it not, right? I mean, you're working out of your house and life is happening behind you. So you got to have that as part of your mission as an organization to embrace that.
Well, there's a new definition of work-life balance, isn't there?
Yeah, it's so, and it's happened in my lifetime. I'm an older, I'm in my 50s now, and I've not certainly seen it all, but the goal was you get to work, you work your way through, you get that office, whatever, if you're working your way through a corporation, and that has just been turned on its ear. It's actually not about that at all. And folks will stay with a company when they've got a real vested interest in where the company's going. So the sharing of the vision by the leadership is so critical. Like, tell me where we're going. I'm with you if you can give me some sense, but when I'm not participating in that and I don't know what's going on, you're not talking to me, I'm not connected to this organization. So I'm a free agent. I'm looking for the next best deal, right? So building that connection through that transparency is so critical. And then, hey, care about me as who I am, and can you give me some coaching along the way? Or if a company invests in some coaching for their team and can provide that for them, well, that person's more likely to say they're getting something out of it. They're building a skill set. They're getting someone that they can go to when they've got some challenges. And if a company's providing that as a resource, you can really build some long-lasting relationships with employees and retain that talent, that investment in human capital that you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know one of your passions and purposes at EOS, Scott, is really investing in what you call the human energy of people. So talk to me about building on the human energy of people and what that means to you.
Yeah, so when we work with teams, when we work with entrepreneurs and their teams, we actually work with a group of folks. We don't just work with the leader. This is not one-on-one coaching. This is actually full day meeting sessions with entrepreneurs and their leadership teams. So that human energy that's in the room there, well, if you can get to a place where you're in an open and honest exchange of ideas and holding one another accountable and having a dialogue which moves things forward, and you've taken the ego out of the way, right? That's the human energy that we're talking about. There are people on that team that have a certain set of skills, experiences, and expertise that you need to be able to pull from so that they can help you build your business. Any entrepreneur that's trying to go it alone or thinks he or she has all the answers, or I can do this work better than everybody else, is not going to be able to grow their business. It's just not, that's just not a reality. You will run out of time in the day and you'll exhaust yourself. And you'll spend so much time working in your business that you'll never get a chance to think about and work on your business. So you've got to have that human energy harnessed in a way that it's all going in that one direction that you want to take it, right? This is been popularized all along the way. Patrick Lencioni's written quite a bit about it. Jim Collins writes about it, and we've incorporated it into what we do at EOS, right? These are some thought leaders on this subject, and it really is about understanding all that people bring to the table and putting that in the same direction of the way that you want the company to go, right? But when that energy is separated out and go in different directions, well, of course, you're going to move much slower or potentially move backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, my next question draws on your experience as both a business owner and your work at EOS. And I'm curious to know I was recently watching Meet the Press's new a news magazine series called Meet the Press Reports. It's a weekly sort of news magazine style show, and one of the segments they covered this week was about the idea of a universal sort of basic income and really making sure that people have a living wage. And they profiled a woman who had four part-time jobs, and she could barely make ends meet, ends meet in order to stay afloat. She lives in Cleveland, and she has four full-time jobs, and they compared and contrast that to her mother, who just graduated from the elementary school that she went to after 30 years of being there. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on how the landscape of work has changed, because no longer can you stay at a job 30 to 40 years in some cases and retire. So I'm curious on two fronts to ask you about the idea of a guaranteed basic income, and how you think or how you think the workplace has evolved in total in terms of people not staying at the same job for the prolonged period of time that they used to.
Let me take the second part of that first, if you don't mind, Kevin.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, because I've even seen it with myself. So I was actually talking to someone earlier today and sharing the story that my father was an attorney, and he spent his entire career at one firm, never moved. My mother was a teacher. She spent her entire career in one school district, never moved. My father-in-law was a teacher, and he spent his time in one school district and never moved. So we're only one generation removed from folks joining an organization, taking on a job in a school district in that example, and staying there for the whole time. So you are correct in saying it's changed. I've had several jobs along the way and a couple different career paths, and have made some changes along the way. And it's funny because it makes my in-laws nervous, some of the choices that we've made, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's challenged me in ways. So I think first and foremost is just recognizing that that's going to be the case, and realizing that as a business owner, as a leader, you still need to make the investment in the people that are there. And this was actually a practice that I learned way back when I worked at Capital One. And Capital One was great about, while you were there, they certainly had a high demand of the work that you did, but they also invested in you. And we actually went through a number of different training programs, which were designed to figure out what we wanted to be when we grew up. And this was company sponsored. And for many folks, it was actually not what they were doing today in working for Capital One. And I give Capital One at the time tons of credit for going out there and saying, let us invest in you and help you figure out what you want to be. But at the same time, we'll demand of you the work product and the results that we expect. And I think it was a great exchange. And I took so much from it, and I gave a lot to them. And it was from there that allowed me to make some of the choices that I've made along the way and some of the changes that I'm able to make. So in a company like that, where they're willing to give of themselves, of their resources, and of that work time to invest in their employees and give them a chance to be different, I think that's reflective of what companies need to be doing and spending that time on their people. You're not going to hold on to someone, and if you just fight to hold on to someone, you're going to be sorely disappointed, and that person's not going to be as a productive employee as it is if you're spending that time investing in them. So let's start there first. I hope that helps answer the question and gives you a little perspective on it, because it was really valuable for me in my growth and for the career that I've had.
Yeah, and just the first part of that question was about the idea of a universal basic income, and I'm just curious to get your thoughts there as well.
I have to be honest with you. I struggle with that one. America is built on a foundation of people taking risks, right? I mean, the actual formation of the organization, formation of the country, what was on risk taking, and it's been that way all the way through, and obviously has been a worldwide leader in innovation along the way. So, if there is a basic income, do we still have people that will take those risks? it's an unknown question because we've not had it before. And I think that would be my worry, would be if that is what's there as a universal basic income, do we have folks that really rise above? Now, some would argue there would always be those folks because there's some sort of internal working and drive that happens, and they'll do that. But I would never want to lose that spirit for folks willing to say, you know what, there's one path here, which may be quote unquote a safer path, but I'm going to go the harder route. I'm going to try to build something, create something, grow something from nothing. And really that's what, has created the economy that we have today. And you wouldn't want to lose that.
I wanted to drill down on Goodrich's stance on building good relationships and the advantages it can have for any business. So I circled back to the question and asked him how our ability to communicate with others in a public setting can help elevate our confidence and help improve our bottom line as entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and business owners. And under such a framework, this is what Goodrich had to say.
Yeah, so the building of relationships, right? For any business, you want to be able to do business with folks that you know and that you trust. And so that only comes from investing time and energy into establishing those strong relationships, whether it's with your client base, your vendor partnerships, or if you're looking to attract talent, right? Those connections that are made are very foundational in all three of those interactions. There's probably others that I didn't grab onto. So there is no doubt there. One of the things that we use in EOS as a filter for that is really an understanding of what do you value yourself and within your company, what are your core values? And these are things that are reflected in how you operate each and every day and how you act each and every day. And when businesses are really, really humming, when they're really, really working at a great efficiency and are really well run, they're actually looking for partners. They're looking for vendors. They're looking for like-minded companies to do business with. And they're using those core values as a filter for that. So I think you're spot on. Relationships are critical. And then we try to take it a step further and say, understand what you're about, understand what you value, what you are at your core as an individual, and look to interact with others like that. And that's really powerful, powerful stuff as you look to build your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Scott, I wanted to hone in on the idea of adventure and really taking responsible risks that grow a business. You brought up the concept of adventure a couple of times. So I'm wondering your thoughts on how would you qualify taking a responsible sort of business adventure?
I have never described myself as a risk taker. It's just not, if I were, pulling words out to, and saying, okay, this is me. And I do that. Yet I look back on some of the choices I've made, and I have actually made some adventurous or maybe more risky decisions along the way on my career, whether it was changing jobs or moving to different parts of the country and living in different spots, or opening a brand new business, or going off my own and trying to create a coaching practice, or starting a podcast. I guess I have had some risks there, and they're typically informed, but they also come from some passion that you have in there, something that you want to do, something that is burning inside you, and you want to pursue that. And it's one of those things, Kevin, as I think about it, if you wake up in the morning and you go to bed at night and this idea is still percolating in your head, and that happens for a matter of days or weeks, it's probably worth acting upon. So maybe it's not a momentary thought and you say, oh, I'm going to go do this. And it feels like you're chasing something all the time. But when it's there and it keeps popping into your head and it's coming from inside you, it's probably worth pursuing. And what I found is when I followed that, even if it hasn't always worked out as I exactly planned, when I followed that, I feel like that's been a good risk to take, or at least an acceptable risk to take, even though it was not a path that I thought I was going to take at the time, but it was there and I could not lose it. And my podcast was that exact choice. I don't know why you started doing yours, but that was my choice. Like, I can't shake this idea. There's something here. I want to pursue it. So I jumped in. Well, we'll see. It's just getting started. But for me, that was the beginnings of that. It's like, I want to take this on. I can't stop thinking about how this could work. So that is an example of just for me, how I make a decision.
Yeah, just before I ask you about your podcast, Scott, I will tell you, since you asked about how I started this podcast, I'll tell you the quick story. So, Scott, I used to run something called the Discoverability Network on behalf of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce here in the region of Windsor and Essex. And what the Discoverability Network is, it's the province of Ontario's first online job matching portal for folks with disabilities and employers to get connected. So when I worked on the project, I called it the e-harmony of employment. But the only difference was it wasn't for dating, it was for employment. So the way I started this podcast was before I left the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, I was offered a chance to become the lead job developer for folks with disabilities at the local YMCA here in Windsor. And Louis had called me up, my boss at the Ontario Chamber, and he said, the guy who took your job when you left is leaving for a government job in Quebec. So he asked me, do you want your old job back? And I said, absolutely. And they paid me fairly well to run the network. So I gave my 2 weeks at the YMCA. And a week before I was supposed to start my next contract with the Ontario Chamber, COVID hit. And Louis called me and he said, I hate to really do this to you because we were looking forward to working with you again, but I have to suspend your contract because part of a large majority of my contract was going out and hosting community events and telling people about the positive benefits of hiring folks with disabilities and using the network to do that. So when everything shut down in March of 2020, I took a couple of weeks to, because my last day at the YMCA was the middle of April, so I took a couple of weeks after that was over, and I told myself that there was only so much Netflix I could watch in a day during COVID. So 3 years later, we're more than 750 episodes into my podcast, and nearly 400,000 people have watched at least one episode. So I must
awesome.
be doing something right?
That's
so
fantastic. Good. That's great.
That's the story on how the podcast started. There you go. So,
Love it.
So with that being said, tell me all about your podcast and the mission behind it, my friend.
Yeah, it's a bit of a passion project. It does align with my coaching practice through EOS because I really talk to entrepreneurs. I mean, the basis of the podcast is hearing the stories of entrepreneurs and their journey of growth and how they created their business and all the ups and downs associated with it. So the podcast is called Grow Your Damn Business. It's a little
the title, by the way.
Yeah, that's the title. Right? Grow Your Damn Business. It's the company that I created to invest in the haircut shop is called Get Your Damn Haircut. So I just kind of used the same idea around that and said, okay, well, let's go with Grow Your Damn Business. A little credit to my daughter for letting me bounce that idea off her. And so yeah, we just look. Growth doesn't happen in a straight line. People go through stuff, and you look at a successful business owner today, and what I try to find is like, where were you when you just started? What were the things that were working against you? Did you almost throw in the towel and decide not to move forward? Did you ever get off track and then have to get back to the reason why you started in the first place? And just hearing all of those stories out there, and hopefully in an effort to let entrepreneurs realize that they're not alone. Right. Running your business can be a lonely thing. And sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm the first person that's ever had to deal with this. And I'm more often than not, no, someone's already been through that. So if I can bring a little light to someone else's journey and someone can gain some comfort or satisfaction in that, or realize, hey, there is a way out there, or hey, I'm actually not sure where to go next. Let me talk to Scott and see if he's got some ideas. I think all of those things are potential outcomes from it. So we're just getting started. I think it's our 8th episode releases today. So we're not at the number that you're at, since you've got a few years jump start on us, but obviously I'm optimistic that this will have some legs. There's lots of folks that want to tell their story. So I'm just trying to create that platform and bring those stories to the listenership. And it's small, and hopefully we'll experience some of that growth that you've experienced with yours. So that's the hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, I was just breaking in one of the newest members of my physical support staff this morning, and I told James this morning that if you don't have a new book, you have a podcast now, right? It's the new vanity, I guess, right?
It really is. It's actually, and there's so many companies out there that'll describe it's really a medium that a lot of even business owners can get into, because if you can really develop a niche for that. I've got a friend here that produces some podcasts. Like, he has a podcast with a local roofer who's talking to people about their roofs, but it's just something that can help a business really think about a different way to show up for their clients and their potential clients. So you start to see, this podcasting as a marketing tool being used in a lot of ways. And I think it's just a new form of advertising and sharing, and you get to know the owners of a business in a different way. And like I said, for me, it's a chance to share those stories of others and give them a chance to talk about their business in a way that maybe they didn't, or maybe had to do a print magazine ad before. Well, now, hey, let's get on a podcast and talk about it and refer people over to it. And hey, I talked about what I do here. Take a listen. That, I think that serves a nice little niche there in the business development for many folks that I speak with.
Yeah, and because you had the experience of both helping people operate and operating their own business, I'm also fascinated to ask you, Scott, how do you think people can make sure that their passion for their individual business doesn't interfere with operating it effectively?
So one of the things that we do try to talk with our clients about is making sure that they take time every day, every week to get out of the weeds of the business, because it can be all consuming. And you've got this passion, and you'll take this passion, you'll pour your every ounce of energy into it and try to control all the aspects of it. But if you're always in your business, right, and investing all that energy and time in there, and don't ever take a time to take a step back and a step above and say, what do I want to, is this still aligned? Am I on track? So get above the clouds a little bit and look down and say, take a little 30,000 foot view, and is this still what I want? And do that little check-in. Take a moment of clarity. We call them clarity breaks within EOS, just a phrase in there, but really it's just a chance to reflect and open up your mind to what's out there. You typically find great inspiration on there, but also make sure that you're not all consumed with it, and you're really taking a broader view of this passion that you have for this service or product or business that you've built, and are saying, okay, I have this passion, but if I can step away for just a second, I'll see if it's actually fulfilling me in all the ways I want it to.
Yeah, and Scott, if I gave you $1 million to run or to produce a commercial about business diversification and the importance of sort of diversifying a business to make sure that it operates more efficiently and more creatively, what do you think the focus of that commercial would be, and why would you focus that commercial in that particular way?
I'm going to go back to just what our purpose is with our haircut shop. And it's really about allowing our clientele to be who they want to be without any judgment, to be able to express themselves in the way that they want to express themselves. And I think it's a powerful, powerful place. And we do hear from folks that come into our shop that is a different experience that we provide. And they feel welcome, they feel safe. It's a safe space. It's a comfortable place for them to come in and do that. And for many of our clients, they don't feel that in other places. And so for me, that would be the message that I'd look to take forward and look to create other opportunities like that. So we found it in a haircut space. It wasn't where I thought I'd find it in the haircut space, but we actually have found that. And I would look, if I had that kind of capital investment to do there, either to take that and do that more. So where are there places where that makes sense, or to find other adjunct businesses to reach those that right now don't feel like they have a comfortable place to do whatever services that they need to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, I've got a two-part question for you, and just a couple more to end our conversation. But the two-part question goes something like this, my friend. If you look at your life from 5 to 10 years ago, tell me, how do you think your vision for your life has changed from what you thought it might be? And for you, what's the best part about living life itself?
So it's been a pretty significant change, and it's been a lot of introspection for me. So I thought my life was about getting to the next title, earning that next promotion or pay raise. And I had in my mind a clear trajectory to do that. And I had done that for over 20 years. What I'm doing today is not that. And it took a couple months of reflection about a year ago to realize that's not what I want to do for the rest of the time that I'm going to be working. I actually want to be able to operate more purposefully. And when I'm doing work, to be able to deliver with a higher level of purpose than it is just about me and the title of the work doing. So that transition's been significant. I'm still going through it. It is a journey. I'm not even close to there yet, but I'm certainly not where I thought I'd be 5 or 10 years ago, but I'm much happier about where I am, if that resonates with you and that makes sense. So, but it's not fully formed. It's still happening right as I sit here today.
Well, life is a constant evolution, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say then the greatest part of my life is that my wife and I, we have 2 great kids, and the 4 of us, and now they're significant others. My daughter's now married. My son is engaged, so soon to be the 6 of us. But we have a really, really strong relationship. And to me, that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, and that I enjoy the most. So we just got back from taking some time together as a group. So my kids still like to hang out with me even as adults. So that's great. And we just, that time together when we have that, whether it's around a holiday or whether it's on a vacation or even just picking up the phone and talking to one another, that's the thing that is the best part for me.
Well, it's always a win when your kids still want to hang out with you when they're older, isn't it?
We haven't done anything to get them too angry yet, Kevin. I think that's the good thing, right? So we don't try to keep them getting too angry at us.
Well, they keep coming back to clear out during Thanksgiving, right? No.
Yes, my daughter lives close by, so we get the chance to see her more frequently than my son, who lives out in California. I'm in Arizona, so we don't get to see him as often, but we still get together several times throughout the year and talk all the time. So it's still a very, very strong family unit.
I got you. And just out of curiosity, how's your son liking that Arizona and California heat? Isn't that something?
We're on a hot stretch here, Kevin. There's no doubt about it. No sense complaining about it. It's the desert in the summertime. This is what you get. But we are 20 something straight days of over 110 degrees. So we're in a record setting pace here on the temperatures. My son, who's in California, is getting the better of it. It's a little cooler where he is in California, but those of us here in the desert in Arizona in the summertime, it's you just deal with it, right? Just like you deal with the snow in the winter up north, we deal with the heat in the summer here. It's part of the package.
I to stay hydrated and crank up the air conditioning, right?
But it's why it's here. So this is our indoor time for a lot of folks, right? This is the indoor time, whereas in the wintertime in the north, that's the indoor time there. And I'm from the north, so I've had plenty of time in the snow, and I'm good now here in the desert.
Well, life has a way of coming full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Find the place where you need to be. Or where you should be.
Absolutely. And, Scott, my final 2 questions for you have to do with building success and sustaining it. So I'm always excited about helping young people sort of explore what they're passionate about and helping them sustain that passion and hopefully having success with it. So tell me, for you, if you're on an audience of first-time entrepreneurs and you really wanted to help them run a sustainable business, what are three things that you would tell them that would help them sustain the success in their business? And then finally, when you look at your own personal and professional life, I'm curious to ask you about your legacy and how you want it to be defined.
Yeah. So in talking to first time entrepreneurs or talking to people that are thinking about starting a business, the first thing that I would talk to them about is patience. I've had to learn this lesson myself, and I think it's a valuable lesson. It is great to have big plans and dreams about what a business can be, but do realize that business growth does not happen in a straight line, and it's going to take some patience and it's going to take some perseverance as you get hit with the various challenges that happen to every business. Every business, it doesn't matter, even the most successful ones you see out there, all had some times when they hit a ceiling, they got stuck, and they had to figure out how to fight through that ceiling to get to the next level of growth. And just knowing that, understanding it, and be ready for it, and build and have a set of skills and tools at the ready to overcome those. And that is one of the things that we talk about within EOS, even for a first-time entrepreneur, making sure that you've got some skills at the ready, a set of tools that you can lean on to overcome. I would also suggest that they have a mentor or two, have someone that you can go to that's going to give you the straight answers, not someone that's going to pat you in the back and say, don't worry about it, but it's actually going to tell you, ask you the tough questions and really challenge you in what you're doing. So, and then the third thing I would say, so patience, have a mentor. And the third thing would be have a system and stick with it. So every business needs to operate well in order to succeed. You can't miss on execution. There's a lot of business systems that are out there. I obviously talk about EOS, and that's what I do. But regardless of what you choose, have an operating system and stick to it. So have the patience, know it's coming, have a mentor, and find a system that works for you and stay the course.
Yeah, and just finally, I'm curious to ask you about your own personal and professional legacy and how you want it to be defined.
It's interesting. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that, and maybe I should. As I think about where I am today, I think, first and foremost, it's about making sure that I'm there for my family when they need me to be there. They're there for me, and I want to be there for them. So I think as a legacy, making sure that you've got that as at the front of mind on the personal side. Professionally, I really have this coaching gene that's been part of my life for a good portion of it, and it's shown up in different ways throughout my life. And now that I'm doing this professionally, and this is what I'm about full time, just really taking the time to help business owners achieve what they want to achieve through the coaching and facilitation that I can provide. Right? If I can do that for X number of business owners, through my coaching practice, that's something that it allows me to be more purposeful in what I do, fulfills a need within inside, and hopefully really helps others achieve what they want to achieve. And I think if I could look back and say I was able to do that for several businesses, then that's going to be something to be proud of.
Absolutely. Well, Scott, we've covered a lot of topics in a short amount of time. So I want to thank you for your energy, enthusiasm, and for agreeing to engage in conversation with me about businesses and operating them effectively, my friend. Your work in the space and time on my behalf is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here this afternoon, and I want to wish you a great weekend, my friend.
Yeah, it was great to meet you. I thank you for the time. Great questions. I really appreciate the discussion, dialogue, and congrats to you for the show and the success you've had with it. And we just wish you nothing but success going forward. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you for coming.
Have a great afternoon, and you enjoy your weekend.